Hey everyone. So I was thinking the other day that I used to be the absolute best parent ever. I mean, I'm not kidding. I knew all the techniques for how to be a great parent. I could give the best advice on what it meant to be a parent. I was a youth pastor and people would come to me and I knew exactly what they needed to do to be a parent. I mean, I was amazing. I was an amazing parent. And then I had children. You know how that is? I mean, you have these ideas and all of a sudden those ideas, those theories get thrown out the window once you really have to live by them, right? Well, that's what happened to me. You see, when Melanie and I got married, Missy and Alex were 7 and 5. And so it wasn't long into us being married. This was before Martin, and it was just the 4 of us. And it wasn't long into our marriage when one night, in the middle of the night, Missy woke us up from a sound sleep. And I'm laying there and I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden I hear, "Scott, Mom, Scott, Mom." And, I kind of woke up. I woke up before Melanie this time, and I said, What's going on? And Melanie was just waking up, and she goes, "I just had an awful dream." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I just had this really, really bad dream." And, Melanie was like, "Honey, what happened?" And she tries to explain this dream that she had. And finally I stopped her and I said, "Wait a minute, Missy, so now this was a dream, right?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "So that this isn't real, right?" And she said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, then go back to bed." Now, I quickly learned that wasn't the best parenting technique. Melanie gently explained to me that that's not what you do when your kid wakes up in the middle of the night. And at first I didn't understand it because I thought, wait a minute, that was wisdom. I was being wise. I mean, it was true. I was just trying to logically point out to her that it was a dream, right? But that wasn't the way to do it as a parent. And what I realized was I was lacking something that I desperately needed in terms of my relationship with my kids. And I was thinking about this further this week, and I know I've used this passage of scripture before, but I was thinking about it further as I was reflecting on that moment and then also reflecting on what Paul writes about when he's talking to the church in Corinth about love. Now, this was a church that was really divided, and they were allowing all kinds of things to dictate how they were supposed to be together. And Paul was doing all kinds of things to try to teach them what it meant to be a community. And at one point, he then defines how to live in love with one another. Because his thinking was, and rightfully so, that it is love that's going to really bring them together as a community. That if they were going to be a community that was unified, they were going to have to learn how to love each other better. But what occurred to me was, when he begins to define love, what are the first 2 words he uses to define love? 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Love is patient and love is kind. That night, a long time ago, I didn't have either of those with Missy in the middle of the night. I wasn't really patient with her because I'd been woken up from the middle of the night, sleeping, but I also wasn't kind in my response. And one of the things that I've learned as a parent is kindness really goes a lot further than wisdom when it comes to how I deal with my children. But you know what? I think that can hold true in other walks of life as well. I mean, I actually do believe that right now, one of the problems in our culture is that we lack basic kindness. We don't treat each other well right now. And it may be because of stress. I don't know what it is, but right now I've seen less kindness out there in the world than I think I have at any other period of my life. The way we treat people at the grocery stores, restaurants. I mean, we know they're all understaffed right now, right? And maybe they're not as well trained, and maybe they're not doing things that they're supposed to. But you know what? General kindness is something that we can offer them. And it goes right back to when Paul's trying to teach this church how to be a church so that they could have an effect on the community around them. He said, Love one another. And then he says what that means is being patient and kindness right out the bat. It was those two things that began this definition. And maybe it's those two things that we're lacking most right now. So I don't know. Maybe we need to figure out a way to allow at least those two things to begin to invade the way we treat one another and others in our society. Being patient and kind. I know I'm gonna do my best to do that as well. Thanks so much.